In this video I'm going to show you how I hardwire my Garmin GPS to my Opel or Vauxhall Meriva B 2010 plus model. So as you can see, I've already started removing pieces of trim. I've removed the A-pillar trim here. What I did was to simply first remove the rubber, this rubber that goes all along the door, and then pull out from here the trim. Inside the trim is held by this small piece of rubber that prevents it from falling off. So what you do is you just push up and out of this to slide it out, and this will allow you to totally get rid of the trim, to remove it. Here there is a speaker, so if your car has a speaker here, you simply need to remove this wiring cable, which you do by pushing down here and pulling out. So once the trim is done and out of the way, I need to start preparing to wire, and this is the charger unit of the GPS, and it's going to be located down behind the fuse box, down there. So obviously I need to get the cable fished out from under here, the fuse area, out through here, and this is going to allow me to have like 20 centimeters or half a foot of cable out here resting all the time. This way all I need to do to charge my GPS is to plug in my unit to the cable and then simply hang it. Hardwiring means the installation is permanent or semi-permanent in a way that you don't need to use your cigarette lighter to plug in the device. So to fish my cable, my charger cable from the other side of the dash, I simply use just a rough piece of cable here. You can use a piece of hard cord and push it down through the hole that you see there. And if you look up there, get some light, you can see the black and white cable coming down from the top. If you put your head into this compartment here, you will see the sunlight coming up from the top of the dash, and this means that there is a possibility to fish out that cable from there. So now I simply tie the head of my charger cable to the cord, and I'm going to pull out slowly and try to fish this out. Just make sure you're not pulling out and ripping off cables from the back of the fuse box. So I'm pulling up from the top here. Just gently. There is a piece of foam here, so I'm just going to make a bit of space for myself to pull up the head. Let me drop this camera down and do this. And there it is. So the head of my cable is now out and free. And I'm so happy this was relatively simple to do. And now I can simply give myself how much wire I want here, something like this, and this cable is going to come not through the trim here but behind the dash, which is going to go behind the parking sensor monitor you see there. I already have a couple of cables, so it's a bit messy behind there, but that should do it. And now I'm going to go ahead and clean up this area here, put the trim back, and then I'm going to move on to wiring, which means tapping into the fuse box and installing a socket that will house the head of this. So I'm in the middle of installing an hardwired GPS unit into my Opel Meriva or Vauxhall Meriva 2010 model, and I just want to show you how I hardwired my dashcam here. Let me try to shine some light on it. Okay, you can see the unit here, and it's hard to focus because there is a lot of light behind. Okay, here you go. This is the unit, and as you can see, it's glued permanently to the windshield, and the cable goes up into the headliner here, follows the headliner down to the A-pillar, and the cable here, as you can see, comes down behind the dash there. It goes down here, it goes down here into the fuse box, and here you can see I tapped 12 volts from this fuse here, 7.5. I found out that that fuse number 10 is for the heated steering wheel, and since my model doesn't have this function, it's basically free voltage for me, so up to 7.5 amps. All I'm going to need, to be honest, is just two, one for the dashcam and one for the GPS. So now I'm going to, this was just a rough installation with a naked wire. I have now received my fuse tap, and I'm going to do a clean installation of this. So in the next video I'm going to show you how I connect the fuse tap to my dashcam, and that same fuse tap is going to power the GPS which I had wired, but that is for a separate video. For now, for the dashcam, you can see here to the side you can see the ground wire connected to ground there, this black wire here, and that too is going to be cleaned up as it was just a temporary installation. Okay, so now I have all my cables fed through, and you can see both cables fed through the back of the dash. One of the cable comes from the dashcam, it's fed through the A-pillar, and the second cable is my GPS plug, and this is for the hard wiring to the GPS system. So here are the plugs. Now we have to tap electricity from the fuse box, and we are going to use a fuse tap, which is basically this. What I did was to devise a contraption that will help me to plug in these two plugs here and power them simultaneously. So I connected these two sockets in parallel. So as you can see, the two red wires are the positives, and they go into this terminal, which plugs into the female terminal of the fuse tap. So since I know that both systems here, both power supply units have fuses, I simply bridged the location of the fuse holder here If your system doesn't have a fuse, then you need to insert here a fuse that handles the current that you intend to pull. In this case, the smallest fuse that goes into this fuse tab is 7.5 amps, and 7.5 amps of current is too much to draw. Basically, I need just 2 amps, one for the dashcam and one for the GPS. So since I don't have a 2 amps or 3 amps fuse, there is no point putting in a 7.5 amps fuse in there, so I simply bridged it. There is a 1 amp fuse, there is a fuse in here and in here, so I'm fully protected. So how does this fuse tab work? Basically, I found out that electricity comes out from the left side of the fuse. The left side of a fuse. So that means the direction of electricity to this fuse tab is from the left side. It goes up, then it crosses the fuse. The top level, which you can see bridged here, goes to this cable, and the first level nearer to the metallic pins crosses and then comes back to the second pin. So basically, you put the fuse that you take from there into the lower pins, and this way you get your fused circuit for the fuse that you remove from the fuse box, and the second circuit goes up above into this bridge and then out this cable, which is fused, as I mentioned before. So in my case, you can see on the right side the 7.5 fuse. That is the fuse I'm going to be tapping, because it's a fuse that powers the heated steering, and I don't have that system. So I basically have 7.5 amps from there to use. I'm only ever going to need 2 amps maximum, so that should be alright. If you need more power on a constant basis, then I wouldn't advise you put 2 sockets in parallel, but you look for another empty fuse or another fuse with more power that you can tap from. Unfortunately here I don't have the fuse for the cigarette lighter. That fuse is about 15 amps drawn, but in my case it's in the bonnet, it's in the engine bay, so I don't have access to it here easily. So if you have access to a fuse to the cigarette lighter in the car, then you can use that, as that allows a very high amount of amperage to be pulled, up to 14 amps. Okay, so let me pull out the fuse and I'm going to show you how it looks like when everything is installed. Okay, so I'm back and the wiring is now done. Let me just quickly run through what I did. You can see the fuse tab is in place, and the cable, the red cable, goes up and it's looped around that column in a way as to hold these 2 sockets up high in this way. And as you can see, the GPS is plugged to one and the dashcam is plugged to the other. Remember, these 2 sockets are in parallel. If you follow this brown wire, you will see that it's connected down here to my earthing point, and this is connected to the earth of the car. And as you can see, I made 4 connectors, 4-cabled connector in such a way as to have 3 grounding points in the future if I ever need them. As you can see, well insulated and covered. So anytime I tap electricity from the fuse box, I can simply ground to one of those points there. So now all I do is to tuck them in neatly. Okay, and here same thing with the cables. The cables here, I simply roll them up and tuck them here behind neatly. So as you can see, the fuse box location is neat. I have my two connectors there plugged in, and now all I need to do is close up the footwell compartment. Okay, so why I decided to put the plugs here in the fuse box compartment is that I should be able to quickly get access to them if shit were to hit the fan, or if I were to make some maintenance on them. I'll only need to open the fuse box cover to be able to get access to them. So what's left to do is to put this piece which covers the footwell back. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do it now. So here I'm simply going to clip this, push in the clips. Okay, so I just moved away the plugs so as to allow this to close, and that's closed, that's done. So here the footwell cover, and simply push it in and then up, and now you have to use these clips to hold them. And let me quickly show you how these clips work. So you can see that the clips are in their full position now and in the fully opened position, and this enables me to push and clip. And if you see, I'm going to quickly show you the movement here now. If you push to close, you can see the wings. The wings basically go into this separate compartment and get pushed out. This way you lock whatever you're clipping, and this is how it works. So if you need to remove this type of clip from the car, all you need to do is first pull out this. You need to pull it out. This way the wings can retire into a compartment made for them, and it's easier to pull out the clip. Okay, so same thing to put them in. So now I'm simply going to, okay, so now I'm in with the clip, and to lock it in I'm simply going to push this, and that's it. So the wings flare out, and that allows for a solid lock to the system there. So I'm going to do such for the remaining two. I have finished installing and putting back together everything. So now I'm quickly going to check if everything works well. So when I switch on the car, I should have power going to the GPS and to the car dashcam. Okay, so now the car is turned on to the service position, and as you can see, the GPS has switched on, and you can see that the battery is charging. The car dashcam has also switched on, and it's currently recording. If I switch off the car, you can see the GPS now tells me that the power has been lost, and the car dashcam is no longer recording. So success. Looks like we hardwired the GPS and dashcam successfully, and there is power feeding both systems, and that's it, the job is done. I hope you learned something from this video, and feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below if you have any. Take care.